If you're new to caregiving and you're feeling guilty about decisions that you're making, or the fact that you're feeling resentful about your loss of time in your own personal life, or maybe you're just feeling guilty because you've been really impatient lately with your loved one and those around you, your own family, and maybe even with yourself. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. The feeling of guilt is one of the earliest emotions we feel in our caregiver journey. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you the 3 top reasons that we feel guilty in our caregiving journey. And I'm going to prove to you that this feeling of guilt is not because you're doing something wrong. So as you take on this caregiver role, you're actually stepping up to a leadership role, really. I mean, I guess that's the best way really to describe it. You're starting to help out with medical decisions. It might start with, watching the medicine that they're taking and make sure they're taking it on time. But as things become more serious and more involved, you might be involved in making medical decisions. Maybe that's what brought you to this caregiver journey, right? That something happened and you found yourself maybe in the emergency room, and now suddenly you're making decisions to help them. And you could have a lot of guilt with that. You're protecting them and you're trying to keep them safe. That might mean changing their living arrangements. That might mean changing their routines, right? And they're not necessarily happy about that, right? They don't want change. And that makes you feel guilty because you're getting that feedback from them, that negative feedback from them. And maybe part of it too is that you're taking on some financial responsibility. Hopefully not that you're paying, that can be another whole video, but that you're helping them navigate their finances. Maybe they've lost the ability to do it because of dementia. In my father's case, as he suffered with lung cancer, he had a stint in rehab. And that time in rehab, bills needed to be paid, right? My mother was still living in the house. Bills needed to be paid. My father was of the Depression era, and you never talked about finances, right? Never. But I had to help pay the bills. And it was like pulling teeth to get him to allow me to find the bills, get the checkbook, and be able to write the checks. Luckily, I had power of attorney at that point, but it really, really was difficult for him. And of course, I felt guilty. I felt like I was, overstepping my bounds, that, I know how private he was about finances, but I also knew the electric bill needed to be paid, right? It needed to be taken care of. And at that point, we didn't know how long he was going to be in rehab. So there's like this fine line between respecting them, right, as your parents, as your elders, and then taking the responsibility to make sure that things get done that need to get done. And as they get older, it becomes harder for them to make decisions, right? They're not sure what to do. And oftentimes they wait and see, right? That's what they would prefer to do. And with things like finances or serious medical decisions, you can't always just wait and see. And part of our guilt too comes from the fact that we might be getting it wrong, right? Especially if we're talking about up-leveling care and changing their living arrangements, whether it's, moving them out of their own house, moving them out of independent living in a senior facility, or moving them into your house, or moving them from your house into a facility. These are really big decisions. And they're complicated, right? There's a whole lot that goes along with it. We don't just physically pick them up and move them, right? We have to think about all of the stuff that comes along with it. Their emotions, our emotions, the logistics of moving, all of those things. Boy, does that really bring up guilt and fear. Like, am I really doing it right? But what I want to emphasize to you is, with your caregiver's heart, these decisions that you're making are for their good. Just like in the early days, they made decisions for your good, right? So you're doing it out of compassion, out of your caregiver heart, and you're doing it for the responsibility, right? The bills need to get paid. A safer living environment is needed, whatever those changes might be. Keep that in mind as you're feeling guilt. If this whole caregiving journey is new territory for you, that's okay. I do encourage you, though, to subscribe. And every week I create new videos for you that help you, because I was a caregiver too, and I understand, and I don't want any caregiver to have to walk this journey alone. I was there, and I understand, and I want to be here for you. So click subscribe so that you can come back and you can learn more, and I can help you in this journey. And deep down, you might be feeling some resentment about the change in your own life, in your own routine. You know, this caregiver journey, it has its ups and downs, its hills and its valleys, and sometimes it can feel really consuming, especially in the beginning, especially if the beginning was because something abruptly happened that brought you here as a caregiver. And so your time is not your own necessarily anymore. You know, we take on this caregiver role in addition to what we already do in our lives, whether it's your own family that you take care of, whether it's your own job, and whatever other obligations that you might have in your life. And suddenly all of that is upset, right? Your routine is different. You're trying to sandwich things in. You're losing your own time, right? You're losing your own freedom because now you have this other very heavy bucket that is filled with caregiving for your loved one. And that resentment makes us feel really bad, right? This is our parent that we're talking about, right? And sometimes they're not always cooperative. Sometimes they're really stubborn. And we feel things like, you know, don't you understand? You know, I've traveled this far. You know, for me, I didn't live in the same town as my parents. I was a 30-minute drive away. And certain times when things got very serious, and, you know, like, for example, when my father was going through radiation treatments, that was 33 days of treatments that he had, one right after the other, only weekends off. But I spent time with them on weekends because they were in such need, right? My mother was dealing with dementia. The stress of my father's lung cancer was making it even worse. And here I was, totally rearranging my schedule, which I gladly did because I wanted to help them. But gosh, they were fighting with that independence of not wanting the help. And they were grouchy and they were angry, and we locked horns, and I felt really resentful. And then I felt really guilty because I knew they needed the help. And my past baggage says they raised me, and look at what they did and sacrificed for me. This is the least I could do. But I still cried in the car on the way home because I was insulted, I was yelled at, I was belittled, and I still kept coming back to help them because they needed it. So the resentment doesn't mean that you don't care. The resentment means that you've lost something, right? You lose a piece of yourself because there's only 24 hours in a day. You're sacrificing things to help them. That's where the resentment is coming from. And it's natural. There's a little grief there because things are different. And then you have the grief as you watch them sort of degenerate, whether it's because of a long-term illness or whether it's because of dementia or Alzheimer's. Life is changing. It's changing for them and it's changing for you. And probably the biggest umbrella of guilt really that we have is our loss of patience, right? We lose patience with them. They lose patience with us. We're tired because sometimes it feels like a constant fight, or you're just tired because you're running from doctor's appointment to doctor appointment. And then you're trying to keep your own life straight too. And you're tired because you could be losing sleep at night because you have a lot of worry and concern and you're trying to figure it out. And we have all of that guilt because we're short-tempered, we snap at people, even our coworkers, right? We become like a different employee. Some of that can be that, we're just, trying to maintain. We're like on this treadmill, just trying to keep up, keep all the plates in the air, right? The balls that we're juggling, keep our work life, keep our family life going. And then this new added strain of caregiving. It's natural to be impatient. Things are changing. You're locking horns, right? You're trying to do the right thing. You're questioning yourself. They're questioning you. There's a whole lot going on. And it is not, or it is, I should say, it is natural that you are feeling guilty, that you are feeling overwhelmed by all of this. This is new, right? And like I said, this whole caregiving journey is a series of hills and valleys. And sometimes we ride it nice and smooth. I call it riding the wave. And other times, just when we think we got it down, we feel like we're a brand new caregiver again because something new happens. And we're back to the feeling of guilt and resentment. And if you're really starting to question yourself as you start to make these decisions and you're starting to take over this responsibility, you want to check out my other video that has the 3 guiding questions to keep you out of self-doubt. I will link it below so that you can check it out. So overall, you really are adjusting, especially if you are a new caregiver. And guilt is just one of those emotions, right? Because you're questioning yourself. But as you build your confidence, you will have less guilt and you're going to be more confident in the decisions that you make. And so I invite you to keep coming back to watch my videos and learn more so that you can be confident in the decisions that you are making. Give yourself the time to build the skills, to strengthen that shell that you need to be able to withstand their fight for independence. They're not angry at you personally. You just happen to embody the changes that they don't want to make. So we have to build that tougher shell for ourselves so that we can keep moving forward, because we have a caregiver's heart and we want to use our compassion to be able to keep them safe, to be able to make sure that they're getting the proper medical attention that they need, and to make sure that their finances are taken care of. And there'll be another video coming up soon that talks about finances and power of attorney. I don't want this to feel so overwhelming as I mention these things, but I want you to know that you're not in this alone. No caregiver should have to walk this journey alone. And I am here for you. And if you really want to have a one-on-one chat with me, feel free to click on the free support session down in the show notes, and you and I can have a talk and really sort of help guide you, give you the compass to help you move in the right direction and build that confidence. You can do this. I know you can. It's not a weakness that you need support. Everybody should have a partner in this journey.